Hello, greetings of the day wherever you are. Hope you're having a pleasant weekend and continuing to stay smart. Again, an interesting video that I would like to bring to your notice. Okay, and the reason I would call this interesting is because this is about someone who it's a very recent event, couple of days old, and it is about someone who has had a very bad experience on the job front. Okay, due to some reason he has lost his job, or and obviously in a country like India, and in most cases, right, it's like extremely important. I mean, the job and the salary we earn through the job is what drives our family in most cases. So it's a big event, right? And obviously he's quite upset with whatever has happened. And I was approached just to see if some remedial measures could be done. But keeping the remedy side apart, or keeping the remedy aside, I was also curious to see if this event is distinctly visible in the horoscope, at this particular point in time, because this is a very fresh event that has occurred to that individual. My sympathies with him and his family. But yeah, it is primarily about someone losing his job, right? So we all know that when you say job, we're talking about the 10th house, 10th lord, and even the MC, because the MC is the cusp of the 10th house. Okay, so if you see, there are two charts. The bottom chart on the left is the radix chart or the natal chart, and the other chart on the right is the solar return chart for 2025, because this event has taken place in the month of July 2025. So his solar return, his recent birthday was in the month of March. So it makes sense to use the most recent solar return to see if this event is fated, or if this event is visible, whatever has happened to it, because we know for sure that this unfortunate event has taken place in his life, which he is already experiencing as I speak, right? So with that said, so now let us look at broadly. If you see, right, in this horoscope, if you see, the ascendant is Taurus. Okay, it's 21 degrees Taurus, and you see the malefic Saturn in the seventh house. Okay, in Scorpio, 27 degrees. I agree. I mean, it's not a very tight orb, but already Saturn is casting an opposition aspect on the ascendant, right? So there is Saturn opposition, and we all know that Saturn is one of the infortunes or malefic planets. Okay, this particular, the radix chart or the natal chart happens to be a daytime birth, so it is at least of the same sect. So uh, you can expect maybe some, I would say, some courtesy or some bit of courtesy from Saturn, but otherwise, malefic, being a malefic, will act like a malefic, right? Okay. Now, obviously, you want to see the impact to 10th house, 10th lord, because it is a matter of career. Okay. And as always, as I keep saying, I use my favorite primary directions distribution through the terms bounds, the gold standard in predictive astrology. Okay. Now let us look at the directions in and around this time. So if you see, obviously this event has happened in 2025, and right now let us look at the direct things, and not the converse. Okay. So if you see, in almost like late 2022, towards the end of 2022, the ascendant was directed to the terms of Saturn in Gemini. Okay, so the ascendant was directed to the terms of Saturn. So the ascendant is already in a malefic term, it is directed to the terms of Saturn, and hence Saturn becomes an important chronocrater which can signify the event. Now, since Saturn is a chronocrater, as I just pointed out a few minutes back, there is already the natal Saturn already casts an opposition to the natal ascendant, right? So it is triggering that opposition aspect, and obviously an opposition from Saturn, first of all, it's a stressful aspect, being opposition, the most stressful, plus it is coming from a first grade malefic like Saturn. Okay, yes. Now, okay, this definitely tells us that it's going to be a really tough time, one hell of a time, because it's an opposition from Saturn. But here we want to specifically see that, if it is related to career, right? Because just an opposition from Saturn can indicate that yes, it's going to be like trying times for this individual, but may not be more specific than that. Okay. Now, as I said, here you will see the solar return chart for 2025. Now see the beauty. Okay. And if you see, right, Saturn in the solar return chart is at 29 degrees of Aquarius. Okay, Saturn in the solar return chart is 29 degrees of Aquarius. Okay, whereas Saturn in the natal chart is at 27 degrees of Scorpio. Now, I don't have to repeat this. I have repeated this many times in my previous video. I'm doing it again. 2, 5, 8, 11. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. They are all like square to each other. So the revolution Saturn, when I say revolution Saturn, it means Saturn in the solar return chart. So the revolution Saturn casts a square aspect on the natal Saturn. See, 2, 5, 8, 11. So the revolution Saturn is casting a square aspect on natal Saturn or the radical Saturn. And Saturn, if you observe, is the lord of the 10th house. Saturn is the 10th lord. So obviously Saturn being the 10th lord is also representing career, right? The job, status. So now you have the revolution Saturn squaring the natal Saturn, and Saturn happens to be the 10th lord. So obviously it's again a square aspect from a malefic, the revolution Saturn close orb aspects with the natal Saturn, square aspect, and obviously Saturn happens to be the lord of the 10th house, and 10th house denotes your profession, career. Yes, so obviously, I mean, it's going to have a very negative impact. Fine, okay. I mean, this itself is like a good, I would say, proof. Okay. Now again, we said ascendant is in the terms of Saturn in Gemini. Okay. So ascendant, if you see, I have marked it, ascendant is in the terms of Saturn in Gemini. Now if you look at the term Gemini sign, the terms of Saturn in Gemini has been assigned to the last 6 degrees. So it is 24 degrees to 30 degrees, right? So the ascendant is directed to the terms of Saturn in Gemini, and Gemini 24 to 30 degrees. Okay, so basically it's basically 24 to 30 degrees in Gemini. So if I just have to mark this in the solar return chart, this is 21 degrees. So 24 to 30 degrees is the band of the directed ascendant. Okay, and if you observe here, right, so it is 24 to 30 degrees of the directed ascendant, right? And if you see, Mars is at 27 degrees in Gemini. So the body of Mars falls in the directed ascendant, right? So now you have one more malefic showing its effect. So the directed ascendant is now in the the ascendant is directed to the terms of Saturn, Gemini, and that band, if you see, is 24 to 30 degrees, which has been assigned to Saturn. And you see that first grade malefic, you have Mars falling in that particular body of Mars is falling in that directed ascendant. So obviously it's going to be like hell of an experience, right? And remember also the Mars is in the sixth house. Okay. Now some people also consider sixth house for your daily job, work, and also for subordinates and whatever. So obviously this was due to some trouble from subordinates. But yes, a Martian, a malefic aspect, Martian aspect in the sixth house, and the directed ascendant is actually getting the this conjunction with the body of Mars. Okay, fine. Let's take it further now. Okay, let us look at the moon. Now I'll tell you why I also, of course, definitely the luminaries can be taken as, I mean, important significators. But then if you see, right now, this person has completed, see, he was born in 1987, and right now we are at 2025. So if you do 2025 minus 1987, right, he has completed 38 years. So he is running the 38 years completed, and he is running the 39th year. So when I say 39th year, obviously you will subtract it from the nearest multiple of 12. 39 minus 36 is 3. So basically the third sign from the ascendant is the profected sign. So the profected ascendant is the third sign from the natal ascendant. So Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So the profected ascendant is now 21.28 to 21 degrees 28 minutes of Cancer. So it's somewhere here. This is the profected ascendant, right? So it is 21 degrees of Cancer, right? So obviously, so that is something that I wanted to bring to your notice. And the profected ascendant lord is moon, right? Since the profected ascendant lord is moon, moon is basically the lord of the year. So moon is the lord of the year. Moon also becomes an important chronocritter, definitely a very important chronocritter now. Now let us see the direction of the moon as well, since moon is also another useful chronocritter. And see this, the moon is directed to the terms of Mars in Aquarius. The moon is directed to the terms of Mars. See, the ascendant is directed to the terms of Saturn, the malefic terms. The moon is also directed to the terms of Mars, another malefic term. So there is a lot of malefic influence present during this time frame, right? So moon is directed to the terms of Mars in Aquarius, okay? And if you see Aquarius, the moon is directed to the terms of Mars. Mars is basically 20 to 25 degrees of Aquarius, okay? Fine. So Mars is basically 20 to 25 degrees of Aquarius, right? So it is somewhere here, and 20 to 25 degrees of Aquarius, it is in this band. But look at the another important thing. So moon is directed to the terms of Mars. So Mars is also an important chronocritter, because the significators directed to the specific planets, those planets can be chronometers. So now, since the moon is directed to the terms of Mars, look at the correlation here, something that I wanted to bring to your notice. The moon in the natal chart, the Mars in the natal chart is at 28 degrees of Aries, whereas in the solar return chart, the MC is again at 28 degrees 59 minutes of Libra. Are you seeing the connection? So the radix Mars or the natal Mars casts a very tight opposition to the MC of the solar return chart. Solar return chart is 28 degrees, 29 degrees, whereas Mars is 28 degrees. Aries, the opposite zodiac sign, is Libra. So the natal Mars casts a very tight opposition to the MC. So MC is receiving an opposition from Mars, and that too from the 12th house of loss, self undoing, whatever. So this again shows that definitely, there is the issue is related to his job career, because as I said, even here, when ascendant is directed to the terms of Saturn, the Saturn receives a square aspect from the revolution Saturn, and Saturn happens to be the 10th lord. Again, the natal Mars casts an opposition to the revolution MC, again indicating that it's going to be, a really tough situation when it comes to career. So, I mean, I'm sure there are many other points. I honestly am yet to do a thorough analysis, but then these are some of the things that quickly came to my notice, and I thought, it will be an interesting chart for you to observe, analyze, and learn. So I hope you like this, and I don't see a lot of encouragement in terms of comments, or so I would love to know your views. And another thing is the same thing. If you draw a standard Vedic chart, you will see that using K.N. Rauser's double transit method, both transit Jupiter and transit Saturn are influencing the eighth house of this person. So definitely the influence of the eighth house does talk about a very anxious or a tough experience for this person. But then if you use primary directions, it is coming out really clear that it is primarily related to MC and 10th house related matters. So hope you like this, and if you like it, do respond with a thumbs up, and this will obviously encourage me to make more videos, and also have an intelligent exchange with my unseen guru, who I consider an absolute genius, and my pranams and respects to him. So with that, I would like to conclude this video. Thank you, and continue to have a nice Sunday, whatever is left of it. Thank you so much, and cheers.